2 months into being a mom of two under two, I was overtired and overstimulated. I called my own mom in the middle of the night, crying, in need of advice. Sleep when the toddler sleeps, she said. Okay, but when do I sew? You don't get to sew right now. Welcome to motherhood. She was only trying to help, passing on advice that had been passed on to her. But giving up the thing that ignites my soul would turn me into a bitter and resentful mom, which would be much worse. I knew there had to be a better way. So I turned to my friend Hanne, who says that being a CEO was 100 times harder than being a stay-at-home mom.
I always knew that when I eventually had kids, I wanted to be the primary caretaker. However, I quickly realized that making cute lunchboxes and setting up sensory bins was not going to make me happy. So I needed to find a way to be both a present mom as well as fostering my ambition as a designer and an entrepreneur. So if you can relate, we hope you enjoy listening in on our conversations where we explore what life looks like as a multi-passionate mom.
Before I had kids, I had a very rigid routine. I would wake up at 6 a.m., work out 5 times a week, and if you're like me, I think they call us type A, then you might have associated a good day with a day that followed this routine. Well, enter les enfants. If you keep this definition once you have kids, your good days will be few and far between because kids are unpredictable, they're spontaneous. That's part of what makes having them so much fun. But instead, I had to adapt and I started thinking about my days as more of a plan. And if something didn't go according to plan, then we just pivoted and moved on to plan B or C or all the way down to Z if necessary. And on days when it was just pure chaos, I always turned to something that I learned called the inversion technique. Hannah, have you heard of this? Do you know what this is?
No.
No? Okay, so I first heard about it from the writer George Mack, but I know that other authors have talked about it. The book, How to Be Miserable, is basically an entire inversion technique. So you take a question that you would typically ask yourself, which is, how can I have a good day today? And simple enough, but there's so many possible answers. You know, you could go here, you could do this, or this could happen, or that could happen. But if you inverse the question and you actually ask yourself, how can I make today the worst day possible? The answers become much more clear. I could skip breakfast, not drink any water, spend the whole day yelling at my kids, doom scroll on Instagram, binge watch Netflix, not go to bed on time. So if you're at an absolute loss, just avoid doing those things and you won't have an absolutely terrible day. Even something as simple as drinking coffee out of an insulated mug like Hannah does can completely boost your mood. So Hannah, walk us through a typical day in the week with you and your little monkey.
Yeah, I love that inversion technique. I didn't, never had a phrase like that, but I think it's so true that there's only a couple of things that you can do, and
And we know what they are.
that one in my back pocket. I like it. A typical day for us. So my monkey is an active early riser. So our day starts anywhere between. Yeah, exactly. Yay! I was not before having kids. Uh, I'm not a night owl either. I just need 9 hours of sleep, which yeah, is a whole
Fair enough.
whole other
If
topic.
you can get it, take it.
So anywhere between 5:30 and 6:30, we start our day. And usually I try to start it like really calm. I get him out of bed, and then we first like drink some milk, lay on the couch because mommy needs a bit of time to wake up. So I think he feels that vibe from me. So he's 1.5, right? Just for people to give you an idea. And then we have breakfast around 7, and that is where that insulated mug comes into place because we were with my partner, we were going through our days, and like one of the things was like, okay, what makes the mornings frustrating, and actually like what would make the mornings more enjoyable. And my partner was like, I really hate it that I can't have hot coffee. And it's one of those typical, mom memes, right? Where yeah, never have hot coffee anymore. And So we were like, and what if we just put it in an insulated mug? Mind blown. And it is such an easy way to make that little part of the morning not frustrating at all. Make coffee, put it in the insulated mug. An hour later, I still have hot coffee, you know. So if it takes me a while to sip that coffee, I can still have it. And on the same idea of like thinking about what I needed in the morning to feel good, one of them, which I liked before being a mom, was having like half an hour on myself for myself to wake up and to set up my day in such a way that I would have a good day. And I was thinking about that, and between the wake ups at 5:30 to 6:30, I'm not the type of person who's gonna get out of bed at like 4:30 in the morning or 5 in the morning to get some alone time before Monkey wakes up.
What typically are you doing during that alone time? Is it like just to get ready for the day, or is there a specific kind of ritual?
Exactly that. What am I getting out of that half an hour? And how can I replicate something similar having a toddler around? Because at the moment, my sleep is more important than having that half an hour completely to myself. But I still wanted to feel that feeling. And so I started to do what I call this 5 minute journal, because I can't sit down for half an hour and like journal out my thoughts, and that, yeah, my little one just does not allow that to happen. He's way too active for that. But I can get 5 minutes to answer. In my case, now I answered 3 questions. And I do it while he's having breakfast. So, like around 7, I make myself a coffee, put it in my insulated mug, put him in his high chair, he gets some breakfast. I eat some breakfast, and I have this 5 minute journaling where I ask myself 3 things I'm grateful for. So there's a lot of studies done around gratitude and how it sets you up in a positive way, and so it's just such a good way to start your day with like thinking of you know all the things you're grateful for, and then and why, which is also a really important part for gratitude. Not just saying like, oh, I'm grateful for the mattress in my monkey's bedroom. It's like, no, I'm grateful because then it means that I can actually get a full night's sleep while also co-sleeping, like whatever it is, and really. And then the second question, this is one that really, really, really helped me, was what am I gonna do? 3 things to fill my cup today that I can do not during his nap time. So, very important, like when he is awake, what are 3 things that I will do to feel healthy, happy, feminine, whatever it is that I need to like fill my cup. And these are like very simple things. Like it's as simple as putting on some colorful earrings because it makes me feel like a bit more fun, right? And then the third question is, what am I going to create today? And that is usually more for during his nap time. But it goes with that idea of inner spark, it goes with that idea of flow, it goes with doing something for yourself, something bigger. And so in the morning, already thinking, like, oh, what am I going to create today, really puts me in that positive mood. And yeah, so that's what's happening during breakfast. While next to me, it's like with the little cars, like, which is amazing, by the way. And then usually we get out of the house around 8:39. That really is like the upper limit for my monkey of like being inside. Like 6:30 till 8:30. Like then it's really that limit of like I need to get out of. And for me too, because that's usually when the chaos like starts to rain, and I'm like, okay, shoes on, we're going outside. Uh, so in that time, my partner takes over for about half an hour so that I can shower and prepare for the day. And then, yeah, we get out of the house. Usually, we go toddle around a playground. I run some errands if it's necessary. Yeah, anything that outside of the house that's fun to do together. There's a lot of him directing what he wants to do. So we're very often literally just going for a walk, and I let him walk to wherever he wants to walk, and just let him have that moment where I'm not constantly trying to lead his life.
Just fostering independence.
Exactly, exactly, and make his own choices. That's a big one. And one thing that I forgot in the morning is I also set up lunch. So usually around 7:30 is when I will cook something for lunch. Because when we get out of the house and then we come back right before lunch, he's usually hungry and tired. And then it's like the worst possible moment for me to try to cook and to try to set something up. Either it's our meal from the night before that he then gets for lunch, or I make something around that 7:30, 8 in the morning mark. I will make some lunch for him and for me because we often eat together actually. I'm thinking anything I forgot there.
No, does he go down for a nap after lunch? Is there like
Yes.
kind of a strict nap time, or is it whenever you guys get home and finish eating?
No, so it's more of like a window, because if he woke up at 5:30 versus 6:30, it like changes a little bit. But anywhere between 11 and 12, he will go down for a nap, and so closer to 11 if we woke up at 5, closer to 12 if we woke up at 6:30.
Okay, so you can tell when he's getting cranky, when he's getting tired, and that's when it's nap time. And then how long does he usually sleep for?
An hour and a half, max two
Okay.
hours. I get. That's
Okay. And his bedtime?
his bedtime is around 7:30 in the evening.
Okay, so you still have a huge chunk in the afternoon
Yep,
together.
yep, yep. We still have about 6 hours in the afternoon together, usually.
And what does that look like?
So first of all, during nap time, because I think this is a really important one. I have one golden rule during nap time, and that is I do not do any chores. I do not pick up any toys. I do not empty a dishwasher. I do nothing of all of that. And I have an hour and a half to myself. And that is when I get the time to do my drawing. That is when I get the time to really do something that lifts me up, that I've been looking forward to. That creation part of my day is really during his nap, which is why often I have lunch with him already at 11. I know it's a bit early, but whatever. That way, during his nap time, I don't have to eat. I don't have to. It's just like pure me time for an hour and a half. And the house can look like a bomb exploded. I don't really care. I go into a room where there's no toys, and or I go into the garden, or and I will just take that time for me. And I started with that after realizing that I felt like I never had time to myself. And then I was thinking like, okay, but and that was when he was still sleeping 2, 3 times a day. And I was like, how is it possible that I feel like I have no time to myself? And I was like, oh, because when he's asleep, what I'm doing is cleaning the kitchen and emptying the dishwasher and doing the laundry and all those things, instead of just sitting down and actually, having my coffee and doing something that I really enjoy. Which very important, not doom scrolling, because I think it's very easy to sit on the couch and just start scrolling Instagram. Yeah, so doing that activity that gives you energy during nap time for me, it's like has been the key to then have time in the afternoon to you know um, spend time with my little boy again. And
You're
um,
boosting your energy levels to get you through that next 6 hours.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And to not have the feeling like I haven't had any time to myself during the day, or that I haven't been able to do anything I wanted to do during the day. Like I being very conscious about that. And then in the afternoons, often we will go for a play date. We That's because then it's like a bit of a bigger stretch between getting out of the house and getting back home. There's like I try usually to get back out of the house around 2:30, I would say probably, and then to be back home around 5:30 to make sure that we have time for dinner in the evening. So that gives us like that 4 hour stretch where we can meet up with a friend and have a play date and meet up with family, and I really try to have something social to do, and that is part of me filling my cup too, because it is so much more enjoyable to stand on the playground while you be talking to another mom, and even kids need social contact, and so he he is actually like independent play. He can do it for a little bit if he's just with me while I'm cooking or whatever. But mainly when there's other kids around, it's pretty insane. Like even just having like one, two other kids that he can watch, he can still be there with his car, just like running around, not necessarily like playing with the other kids yet, but the fact that he can observe the other kids, it just yeah makes everything so much smoother, and it's yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. I notice that in my own toddler as well. If there's other kids, she just parallel plays. Sometimes she'll engage if there's a ball to toss, but even if it's just something simple, I mean, she's kind of a creep. She loves to watch people, and it will entertain her for an absurd amount of time. So that makes such a difference. It's so nice that you have that mom, like even if it's a small community of moms who you can meet up with and do those play dates with. I think that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's usually what our afternoons look like, and then come back home, dinner. At the moment I'm doing it in a very Belgian way, which means that he gets only one hot meal a day. So in Belgium we eat sandwiches in the morning and in the evenings, and like lunch is a hot meal. So it means that I don't need to cook in the evening, which is very enjoyable. He just gets sandwiches. Peanut butter is the big winner at the
The
moment.
current phase.
A peanut butter sandwich, and usually by 7:30, yeah, he's down, and then my evening starts, and so me and my partner we eat after he's down, and then we have some adult time, just the two of us.
Yeah, that's nice. I like the way the Belgians do the meals with the only one hot meal. I do sandwiches for lunch every day, and my husband calls it, I think he refers to it as Dutch lunch. I don't know, or Danish. Maybe it was Danish. Now I'm showing my nationality with confusing the two. But I like this one hot meal a day thing. I might have to start to adopt that.
Yeah, that's kind of what our day looks like. I don't. Yeah, is there
No,
anything?
I think one of my favorite things about your day is ending the nap time grind. Because, I mean, how many of us have seen videos that are like, everything I got done when my toddler was sleeping, and then they're zipping through the house and their house is clean and they look so put together. And I can't help but think to myself, this is one day of the week that you chose to film that you are making look like you do every single day when your toddler's sleeping. And I just feel that it's a bit misleading and unsustainable. I mean, I don't have those energy levels every single day. So I love end the nap time grind. I love that.
On top of that, my little one loves to go through the laundry. He loves to help me emptying the dishwasher. I mean, if I take out the vacuum, he's just like the happiest boy in the world because he can play with the vacuum. And I can see because like toddlers copy, right? And so he drops something, and I see him go get the little broom immediately, and because he knows where it is, and he sees me use it after every mealtime, he just like takes a little broom and then tries to sweep up whatever it is that he dropped, and I think that even that mirroring, I think it's so important. If you only ever do the chores when your kids are asleep, then how do they even know what happens around the house? And how can you then expect that all of a sudden they are going to start helping? And I know, like, I've been joking about this, but it is an activity. Like, instead of sitting on the floor and pushing cars back and forth, we're folding laundry. And of course, would it be faster if I do it without a little boy pulling everything back back apart. Yes, it is. Not gonna
But
say
why
no.
is it so important? Why is it so important to get the laundry folded as fast as possible? It's not like you have a doctor's appointment to get to later in the day, right? As long as it's getting done and you're including your toddler, I mean, that's such a great activity and teaching moment.
It's 25 minutes that he's happy, occupied, that I'm spending time with him, that he's learning a new skill. Like we've been talking about sensory bins. You know what's a sensory bin? My laundry basket. I don't need to like cut out and put it in little squares so that they can rub it when, yeah, feel it. It's like, no, he's feeling it. And with the dishwasher, for example, like that's also such a good example. He picks out his own cups, knows where his cupboard is, puts it in his cupboard, and yeah, and then sometimes I just give him a pot to bang on, and then he's just sitting on the floor banging on the pot while I do the rest of the dishes. It's
My daughter loves a good dishwasher unload.
yeah.
Hmm.
It's fun to do those, as the moment that you can see those things not as chores that you have to do while they're asleep, but as play opportunities with your toddler, with your kids. Then you realize, like, yeah, you don't have to save that for nap time. And so when I was in this stage of like feeling super overwhelmed, I actually made a list of all the things that I was not allowed to do during nap time because I could do them while he was awake. And so things like laundry
Hmm.
and dishwasher and like were on that list because I was like, yeah, you're not allowed to do that.
I love that. It's that whole thing about bringing your kid into your world instead of really building a world around your kid because they don't have their own routines and they don't have their own world essentially for you to enter. So you have to put in the extra effort to build it. And I do the same exact thing as Hannah and her monkey with daily chores involving my toddler. I also don't wake up before my toddler. I think there's absolutely zero reason for me to be up before her. And so we usually wake up around 7:30. She's pretty consistent. And we get up, we take the day slow. I love doing this. If my mornings are rushed, then I just kind of spend the day feeling a little on edge and anxious. So I make breakfast for the family. It's typically eggs, bacon. This morning we had pancakes with that too, all one pan, which keeps the dishes like to a minimum. So it's pancakes on, no mess, eggs, no mess, bacon, done. And we have breakfast. And then just like Hannah, we are out of the house. We get out, we go to the local park, and my daughter plays pretty well on her own. I bring a book. I like to read. My newborn is typically in her bassinet stroller napping. One key thing is that I grab a coffee from the local coffee shop, which is right across the street from the park. And this is such a luxury. And I am so grateful that I get to have my barista style cappuccino every morning. It makes me so happy. And then after maybe 90 minutes to 2 hours, we start walking home. And this is when I do my one house chore for the day. I pick one house chore, and that is the house chore that I do, and I don't push it. I find that if I let things pile up and then tell myself we're going to do a big cleanup day on Saturday, or my cleaning day is this day, I don't know how Saturday DeLaney feels, and so it's unfair to put all of those chores on her. I don't know what her sleep looked like. I don't know if the toddlers and the baby is doing well. So it's better if I just in the moment decide what I'm capable of. And some days that's an entire room gets picked up and deep cleaned and it's done. Sometimes literally I'll just put my makeup away from my bathroom counter, but I commit to doing this one house chore. And what I've found is that my house is on kind of a rotating schedule for where the bomb went off. And it's so much more manageable and breathable because I can just flow into a room that doesn't have so much clutter and chaos if I need that piece. And it works for me. And like Hannah, I involve my toddler. So she's emptying the dishwasher with me. She loves a broom. She loves, when she spills water or something, she cleans up her messes, we say, and she gets a paper towel and she cleans it up, and it's so cute. laundry. The girl loves laundry. So that's when we do our one house chore. And then at 12:30, she goes for her nap. And this nap time is pretty rigid. Not to say that we don't shift it occasionally, but it's pretty obvious that around the same time, probably because she wakes up typically around the same time every day, she is ready for her nap at the same time every day. So we do our little routine, like change her diaper, give her a little bottle of milk. I put her in her crib with her binky, and she's asleep. And like Hannah, I really try to use this time to rest. For so many months, my newborn wasn't sleeping through the night. This is kind of a new phenomenon that I'm grateful for. But previously, I had to use this time to rest because I wouldn't be able to make it through the afternoons. I was just so exhausted from having discontinuous sleep. And I've kind of kept that tradition. I don't necessarily nap anymore, but I'll sit and I'll edit our podcasts, or I'll work on a reel, or I'll unpick a stitch or something. If my newborn is awake, this is when we do our tummy time, and I get that time to bond with her. And typically my toddler sleeps from 12:30 to 2:30 or 3. So I get a really big window where I can do things that I want to do. And then when she wakes up around 2:30, this is kind of a rush hour moment for me. I cook lunch for everyone. I do sandwiches for lunch, as I mentioned earlier. So I make sandwiches for lunch, but I also make dinner for that night. And if I'm really in the zone, I will make dinner for the next night as well. And I have these things that I call nets. And I call them that because they typically catch my future self if she's having a rough day. So if I make dinner tonight for me tomorrow, and me tomorrow is just exhausted, I have a net, it catches me, we still have dinner. I have 2 laundry hampers, one for the dirty. If I don't feel like folding the laundry, I just catch myself with this net and throw it in the clean hamper. I have diaper and formula stations all over the house so that I'm not running between rooms to change a diaper. I'm catching myself in the chaotic moment of a messy diaper, and everything I need is always right there. So if you're going through your day and you're finding pressure points or frustrations that keep repeating, try to set up a net for yourself, something that can catch you in those moments to help really just prevent them. And then once all of that's done, I usually do a big cleanup of the kitchen because I'm pretty much done using it for the day. And I'll throw our dinners in the fridge. They're ready to go for later. And I'll sit down and I'll have lunch with my daughter. And then we go up to her room, which is also my sewing room. And this is when I spend time sewing. So I typically set up my machine and I'm working next to my toddler who's running around her room, probably destroying it. She likes books and dolls. She's currently super into cars. And my newborn is in her bouncer next to me, or I'm baby wearing her. And I can get a solid, I mean, it depends on the day, but on a good day, maybe an hour of just sitting at my machine, getting up to my ironing board. Sometimes my toddler gets interested and she climbs up on my lap and she wants to watch what I'm doing. But I think because I've never directed her play in any way, and I've never set up activities for us to do together, that's not something that she ever expects or even really knows is a possibility. And so she's gotten quite good at playing next to me, and I'm interruptible. So she comes over and she shows me what she's doing. She loves giving hugs and kisses just randomly right now, and I will take all of those snuggles, all that she'll give me. And that is, I think, the key. Because in so many productivity books, which I know as running a company, you've read all of those, like self-improvement books, productivity books, business books, they are not made for stay-at-home moms. You know, the deep work and time blocking, flow, all those things require.
They're not made for women.
They're not made for women.
And that's a whole other topic, and I can get really passionate about this.
We'll have to do an episode.
Women are on a 28-day cycle, not on a 24-hour cycle.
And how did I only learn that this year? I only learned that this year. Nobody teaches you that.
And like trying to be on this cycle, like you're saying it so nicely, where you're like, I don't know if future DeLaney will be capable or will be in the mood of doing this. And obviously, like as a mom, like baby and toddler, like like you said, your sleep, your whatever, but
Mhm.
also we have these hormones and
Your
moods,
cycle.
and like, and some days you're just like, I can get everything done, I'm like in the zone, I so good. And other days I'm like, tweet, 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 tweet. Like I'm just like flowing around, and even just concentrating enough to actually take the water and put it in the fridge, and not take the water with me to the bedroom, and then there clean some things in the bedroom, and then go back like that kind of stuff.
That reminds me of a net that I have for myself. I remember I told you about this. I treat myself like someone who has no memory. So I found that I would put a pot on the stove, and you're waiting for water to boil. You might as well go do that other thing that you need to do. And the toddler's over there, so you're just checking on her and the newborn's still breathing great. I would forget that the pot was on the stove, or I forget to put the washing machine into the dryer because I forgot that I ran the washing machine that morning. So I just started, it's so easy, just put a timer on your phone or a little alert in your calendar just to remind you, hey, did you remember that pot on the stove? And sometimes I do. That's fantastic. But on the days that I don't, I've caught myself by treating myself like someone who has absolutely no memory.
Yeah, and that's like you're saying, you just get interrupted constantly. But
Mhm.
as a woman, you actually do pretty fine with that, because we are capable of seeing all those different things around us and keeping check on everything that's going on. It's because we were taking care of kids and picking berries, like to make it very.
Yeah.
And those productivity books that are like, you need 2 hours of interrupted time so you can sit down and write, and you're like, yeah, but even like that's just not happening.
Okay. Where do I put the children?
Like that's just not happening. So does that mean that I can't get anything done, that I can never finish a project, that I can? No, you just have to accept that it's 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, that you do something, you get interrupted.
Your flow, I always think of it as my flow state is flowing in and out of my activity. So I'm not in this deep work zone, but I'm still getting work done because I'm putting in a few minutes, even if it's just a few minutes every day. And I think that's how I try to plan my days, where it doesn't necessarily matter what chaos ensues or what spontaneous thing comes to be, as long as I fit in a small amount of time to hit the pillars of my day, which are one house chore, bonding time with my kids, and some time to sew, then then my day is pretty much full because those are the things that I am dedicated to and need to get done. So it doesn't, some, as I said, some days it's I get interrupted less and I get more of my sewing done. Some days I have a lot of energy and a lot of the housework gets done. It's not always an equal pie chart, but it is focusing on, okay, what are the pillars of my life? What do I have to get done every day? And then just making sure that you do, even if it's just the smallest bit of those things, they get done in the day.
So true. I have another hack or thing that I use that really fills me up is I listen to an insane amount of audiobooks and podcasts.
Same.
So the
Same.
way we're getting around here is with the bicycle. So that already gives me, like, even when I do drop Monkey off at daycare, I get 20 minutes on the bicycle, 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back. That's 40 minutes that I can use to listen to content that stimulates my brain. And that was something that I found really hard, going from being the CEO of a software company to being a stay-at-home mom, was having that, my brain stimulated, and having like
Mhm.
those moments where you're like, oh wow, and I used to get those from work. And then I've always been an avid reader, but I stepped it up so much with since becoming a mom, and since spending so much time on playgrounds. And like, it's not for nothing they're called toddlers, right? They're toddling around. And so I find myself a lot of time just toddling after my toddler
Mhm.
or standing there while he's looking at flowers or whatever. And so I'm listening to audiobooks like so
Same.
much.
That is a fantastic hack. Yes, I think anything that you can do, the way when you're structuring your day as well. First of all, if there's something that you don't like to do, try to delegate or outsource it. But if you can't, then just try to find a way to make that task even just 10% more enjoyable. So for me, if I'm doing the dishes, I've probably got my party playlist in my ears because that just is what I'm focusing on instead of the grimy dishes that I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? I think that's kind of along the same lines. If you're just driving somewhere, if you have somewhere to be, or if you're just toddling, which isn't can be enjoyable. I like to use walks for times to just think and observe. But if I'm sitting at the park and I don't have a physical book to read, I love a podcast. I love audiobooks, especially for commute times. Like you said, that's a fantastic way to use that commute time.
Mm.
So, yeah, so I'm in my sewing room. I'm sewing with my daughter. She's playing in her playroom. And then once everyone starts to get a little bit cranky, it's typically around 6:30 that we sit down and have dinner, which I'd already made, which is always such a blessing. I'm always thanking my past self because around 5 p.m., the last thing I want to do is be on my feet for an hour and a half cooking. So we'll sit down and have dinner together as a family. This is something that's really important to me. I grew up with my whole family around the table at 6 p.m. every night, and we always ask, what was the best part of your day? And I think that this activity is similar to Hannah's gratitude journal. It's just at the end of the day where you're just training your mind to see the positives in things, to teach it how to view things as positive because it is just a practice. I mean, people aren't born innately negative or innately positive. So this is our opportunity to ask and also just to communicate with your family, find out how my husband's day was going, what's new in his world, and he can hear about me and the kids. And when our kids start talking, that'll be fun too. We still ask our daughter, but then we make up an answer when she responds and babbles. It'll be really fun when she can actually answer us. And so that's kind of when we practice gratitude. And after dinner, my husband takes over. He puts the toddler down. They have their own little routine with washing up and brushing teeth, and he reads her a book. And then he puts her in her crib with her binky, and she goes to sleep. And the newborn recently started going to sleep at 8. So I put her down in our bed and she's out pretty much until her first wake at 4 or 5. And then she's back to sleep until we're all awake around 7:38. So that's a fantastic new development in our household. Very grateful for that. And just like Hannah and her partner, once the kids are asleep, this is when my partner and I just hang out and do whatever we want to do without the kids.
Yeah. And for me, sleeping is so important. Like, I know some people function on 6 hours of sleep. Unfortunately, not one of those people. Like, no amount of coffee can get me through a day happy if I've slept only 6 hours or 7 hours. So our bedtime or my bedtime is around like 9:30 at the latest. And I think it is possible to feel good about that because I had that time during his nap time to do whatever I wanted. And so I know that the moment that I start procrastinating on bedtime, it's because I feel like I haven't had enough time in the day to myself or to do whatever I wanted to do. And to me that really is like a warning sign. It's like a signal to be like, oh, I need to restructure something, I need to reorganize something, I need to reset my priorities, or I need to ask for more help because I'm procrastinating on going to bed, which I know is very detrimental to future Hannah. So the only reason why I'm doing that is because I feel like I haven't had enough of something during the day.
Fantastic point. Couldn't agree more. I think you can solve so many problems by just going to bed on time. And I, it's so interesting what you said about trying to think about why you're avoiding going to bed. If I think about it, I find that I don't follow my bedtime if I'm doom scrolling, and that's typically the only time that I'm bad about it. And I'm probably doom scrolling if I'm trying to, what's it called, escapism. If something, like Hannah said, is irking at me and I don't want to deal with it, I typically, that's my vice. And so evaluating why you're avoiding your bedtime and addressing that head on during the day, that's a key point to going to bed on time, which, as Hannah said, sets you up perfectly for the next day. And we all know sleep is so important. Did you know that women need more sleep than men? That's another one.
Well, I can see it in our day to day. Like, I actually need 9 hours. And I know that, like, some people are like, what? And I know that eight is okay, but nine is better. And I know that my partner, seven is his time. Like, if he goes to bed and naturally wakes up, it will be after 7 hours.
That's so interesting. And you're
So,
not the only female friend of mine to say 9 hours is her consistent need for sleep. I don't know. I mean, I guess I sleep from 9:30 to 7:30, and that's good for me, but my partner wakes up much earlier than that. He sometimes gets up at 5 in the morning, and just naturally he'll just wake up 5:30, and he's up and he starts his day. And I can't fathom that. The other day the girls slept over at their grandma's house. I slept for 11 hours. I woke up and I was in shock. And I just, if your body needs it, your body needs it. But I didn't know that women need more sleep. They say the average person needs 7 to 8. I think women need 8 to 9.
yeah.
So that is how we structure our days. Hopefully, you took something away from one of our days that you can implement that'll make your situation better. If you have something that you think, a tool or a piece of advice or something you do during the day that you think would help us, we'd be ever so grateful to hear that. So leave that in the comments below or DM us on Instagram. We're always looking for good tips and tricks. Otherwise, tune in next Monday for our next episode.